Yeah, so, you know, networking is really important when you're doing job search, and LinkedIn is a great way to keep in touch with your network. 70% of jobs still go because somebody was referred through their network. You know, you've still got to get through the interview, you've still got to be good at the job, but getting that leading edge, like Peter just explained, he got a great intro that way as well, makes all the difference. So, you know, it's very easy for us to not actively manage our career. We get into a job, we get busy, we start enjoying it, and we stop saying, well, what will I do next? We stop having the networking meetings, we stop thinking about who will we try and network with to position ourselves. And positioning yourself is really important because, you know, it might be for the next role, or you might stay where you are, but you might end up working. You know, they might be a supplier, or they might be a customer down the track because you've built relationship. Or it could be that you're being really happy in your job, but hey, oil and gas is taking a downturn, mining's taking a downturn, and suddenly you thought you had a job and suddenly you're retrenched. And then where's your network? You know, I find people who say, look, I'm really reluctant to phone my network because I haven't been in touch with them for ages. But more often than not, people are willing to help. You know, if you think about it yourself, if somebody phoned you and just because you hadn't heard from her a couple of years, and they said, look, I've just lost my job, you know, I'm sorry I've lost contact with you, I've been working so hard, but, you know, I'm looking for work, do you know anyone you could introduce me to so I can build my network? Most people will say yes. Some will say no, clear off, you're an idiot for not, you know. But the majority of people will say yes. And that's why I say to folks, when you're out there networking, especially if you're in job search mode, you don't say necessarily, do you know of any jobs going? Because if the answer's no, you haven't let them help you. If you say, I'm looking for work, and you come out with your positioning statement, which is, you know, here's a 2-minute snapshot of who I am, these are my core strengths, and you can draw some of those out of that resume work that we did, then what you do is say, can you tell me what's happening in the industry? These are some companies I'm interested in. Do you know anybody you could introduce me to? Is there, you know, these are some companies I've thought of. Are there any other companies that I haven't thought of that are similar? All of a sudden you're enabling them to help you without it getting awkward. So it's a great way of doing networking, especially when you are under the hammer and you've got to find something in adversity. So, yeah. So any other questions before we wrap up tonight? Well, thank you all so much for coming along. I really appreciate you giving up your time tonight to help me out. If you could fill in the participant feedback form for the second section. Did I hand those round already?
Yes.